Alright, well, the weather's improved, and now starting to look at doing the installation for the audio system. First thing is, of course, removing the head unit. So you use a little thing like this here. You put them in this way around here, like that. On both sides, push them in, and then the unit pulls out. So what I'm doing now, I'm breaking one of the rules here, which is cutting wires, but I think it's by far the best thing to do. So the first thing that I've done is I've cut the wires for the speakers. I've already I've already attached an oscilloscope to these wires here and tested, seeing a nice sine wave coming out. But really I want to also check that the sine wave comes out when all of the wires are disconnected. In other words, there's no speakers attached. So these are all the speaker wires, so front, left, right, rear, left, right, subwoofer and center speaker wires. What I've done is I've sort of color coded, actually, here, let me show you. I've set up a color coding system, so I've used tape with different colors to mark all of the different the wires for the speaker system. So I've used that here. So for example here, you see these two wires here have got a bit of red tape on them, which means that they're the rear right speakers, and I've put a little bit of black heat shrink for the negative and a bit of blue heat shrink for the positive to keep that in place, so I can keep track. And I've also marked similarly the wires here that are the other half are marked in the same way. If I ever need to reconnect this again, it should make it simple. So I shall tidy these away. But now what I'm going to do now for the first time is connect this back up and attach the oscilloscope and run a sine wave through, and I will be able to determine what the maximum volume the audio system can be turned up to before some clipping occurs. So in a few seconds I will I'll set that up and have a look at that. So I've run these wires here, which are basically the speaker outputs from the back of the head unit, to phono adapters will be the inputs for the amplifier. One additional wire that's probably worth mentioning here is this 2-core plus screening cable. I'm using the screening here to connect to the earth. That's my ground that I'm going to use. The white wire is switched via the Valet switch, so when that Valet switch is on, that's grounded, so that signal will go to the amplifier. And this blue one here will be the Rem. In other words, when the ignition's turned on, that will go live. So those things basically come through here behind this panel. I was able to get that through with a coat hanger. Picked up here, they come down here, along here. Yeah, so this wire's here is picked up along here and then goes up here, and then basically goes into behind there's a wiring loom that it picks up and goes through and then comes down. I was able to, without taking all of this stuff, I was able to get it in place, but I did need to take this and this off in order to be able to feed the wire up to the head unit. What I did was I pulled the head unit out and I pushed some mains cable through and then picked the mains cable up here and then attached it and then pulled the wires through and then did all the soldering at the back to make the connections. Couple of important things here. I put the Valet switch here, so this is sort of tucked away here. I'm picking up at the back of the amp, on the fuse box there, I'm picking up a signal that goes positive when the ignition switched on. Actually, it's the same thing that drives the cradle there for my Road Angel speed camera detector thingy. So anyway, that's the signal wires, and the wires for the ignition and also the Valet switch are connected up here through that. Doing the wiring at the back of that, I must admit, you know, there's a hell of a lot of connections to make, and given the fact I could have just taken a stereo signal out, I sort of halfway through it I thought I wish I'd done that. But on the other side of the coin, if it all works properly and it's all wired properly, it means I've got independent control of the subwoofer. I can do the fade backwards and forwards, left and right, so I have full control from the head unit. So let's fingers crossed the wiring will all check out. I'm only going to know that tomorrow. Other things, I did talk about this on an earlier video, putting the speaker wire through. I've only done one speaker wire. This is just for the tweeter. So actually there's a plug here that you can get access to. There's like a grommet, a foam grommet thing there. You can pull that out and you can get to the wiring that's at the back of this. If you lift this up and pull this plug off and then pop the socket back, you can get the access to the socket. And by that way I was able to add in fact actually a couple of speaker wires are attached there. So there's the speaker wire here going into that along with the tweeter. So the speaker wire connects this side to the woofer, and that ultimately is connected to this cable here that's part of the existing wiring loom. The tweeter, I did think I'd be able to pass that cable over the top here, but in fact in reality I needed to drill through the plug, so I used a 3mm drill bit and put a couple of holes in and then joined them together, and that allowed me to pass the speaker cable through. So the speaker cable then comes through here, you can see it in there, and it just sort of follows the wiring loom, and I made use of this grommet here and brought it out here, and ultimately it's going to go up here feeding that tweeter. So well, later on I think I'll probably show in a little bit more detail how to deal with these door connectors. Of course, this is the reason for this is because I've got a crossover, and the crossover is going to be located in the boot here. Yeah, the other thing to note as well, when bringing these wires into the head unit, of course I brought this wire as well, which is a center speaker wire. So that ties in at the back of the head unit. It's wired into the speaker as well, the center speaker. These wires here, these are the front and rear right speaker cables. As I say, only the front door is wired in at the moment. I've got the rest of them to do, and then the left hand side will go along that side of the car when I pull that part apart. So the thing to check now really is tomorrow I'm going to put the amp in place. I'm going to wire in the power supply to the amplifier. I'm going to connect up the inputs to the amplifier and run some signals through and see whether I've got signal on all channels, and whether the Valet signal's picked up, whether the Rem, the automatic turn on when the ignition's on, whether all that works. So, you know, fingers crossed, but it's a bit of a voyage of discovery really. Anyway, seems to be working out, and I'm absolutely sure when it's done it will be truly marvellous. Okay, now this is the amplifier in position. Power lines coming from the battery, so under here. Yeah, there's a cover there. I'll just take that off quickly. So the power positive is taken from here, and then that drops down underneath. There's a fuse down there. We can't really see it, but the wire then comes back up around here, along the back here. I've had to cut a little bit of this fabricy finish away on the inside of the car there to create a bit more space, but I can loop the power lines round in here. This is the inputs. The inputs are now, by cutting that away, I've been able to stuff them up in this space here, and then the speaker outputs will come round here, and then eventually, well actually this evening, they will be connected up and the wires will be brought round eventually to this position. And this is the crossover unit sitting in position, and the COM unit there for the Bluetooth connection, which will be wired in with this Ethernet cable also here, will be in position, ready for the speaker wires to come out. So this is the speaker wires for the right hand side of the car, will go into this half, and the left ones I have yet to install. Other noteworthy point being USB line, which I'm going to keep here tidied away at this point, so that we can connect the computer if we have to at any point in time.